Hello and welcome to the What She Making podcast. This is Shira, and today I am going to make a paper flower, a giant paper flower. And with that, I want to talk about creating from a place of pain. I'm just using another artist's work, a postcard that I got to build a base. But creating from pain. I think we are very much so familiar with this concept because of artists like Taylor Swift, or if you're a little bit older, some Mary J. Blige, just that artists that would take their heartbreaks, their heartaches, Adele, and just make them into beautiful, painful songs. And here I wrote a sort of a poem, kind of like a free-form poem, but it's very painful. That's why you'll see I'm cutting on the back of the paper across the words, because I just needed to make something beautiful from this painful experience. So that's what I'm doing. I have some remnants of a flash tattoo left on the back of my hand. That's what that silver is. But yes, a lot of times as an artist, some of our best works will come from a place of just absolute heart-wrenching vulnerability. And I think it's such a neat thing to be able to use that to make something, and not just anything, but something beautiful, something that can be shared, something that may help other people. I'll insert a picture, but one of my, a work that I took longer than this one only takes about 10 minutes because it's paper and it's a quick one. But there's a work that I did, it was something to express this feeling that I kind of grew up with, kind of always had. And I know a lot of people of color can identify with this, of like feeling like, you are called African American, but you've never set foot on Africa and you don't feel welcome in America. And there's no such place as Africa America. And so I did like this, large scale 2D map of Africa, but in the place of the African countries, I inserted pieces of the United States Road Atlas, and in between each pieces, I had taken brown beer bottles, like specifically brown bottles, and smashed them and put them as like the mosaic in between. It has like all these shards sticking out from it because it's a place of pain and complication and somehow beauty as well, just because of the human spirit and the sort of will to survive, the will to not just live, but thrive, that has been birthed out of that overcoming adversity. So I wanted to sort of make something that represented that feeling. And that's where my piece Broken Brown Bottles came from. I made it in, oh my goodness, maybe 2006 or 7, something like that. And it hangs on my wall now. So here, as I work through this printout of this poem that expresses so much hurt and vulnerability, I'm just considering like where and what places and in what ways do other artists really pull out their aches, their pains, their deep heart hurts. It's easier to spot with lyricists, with songwriters and singers, because it's right there, right? It's right there for us to just not just identify with, but enjoy. Like part of us likes to know that someone else is identifying with a pain that we may have felt at one time. So it's this sharing really that brings about the beauty of the vulnerability and going through the painful thing. And as I said, as a visual artist and a maker, I usually have to make something. Losing my parents was a place where I pulled pain from, especially when I was getting married. It's like you wait, well, I can't speak for you. I waited all this time to get married. I was 39, a 39-year-old bride. Because I was just, I wanted to wait for someone whose personality, lots of their personality really suited me. And I did. And he's great. But then you get to the aisle and it's like my parents died young. They were just in their 60s. So I'm grateful for all the time that I had with them, for sure. But it was a really painful thing to go through this process of getting married and knowing that they would not be there, at least not physically. I mean, you never truly lose anyone. They're always in your heart and you can't get away from your heart. But I use that source of pain and vulnerability to really be creative with the things that I used for my wedding. So I'd had all of my mother's jewelry. She loved to be decorated, So I had pulled not all, but many of the white pieces of jewelry, the numerous pearls and such, and I glued them to a pair of Converse, and those were my wedding shoes. So I could feel like, she's walking with me. She's dancing with me during the day. I also used a lot of her brooches for my bouquet. And I had a little, I'm not going to remember the correct name for it, but like a little charm that you can put like what you would use to make a ring with almost. Is it a cabochon? No. Well, I'll think of it after this, of course. But I made a charm with my parents' wedding photo in it to hang from my bouquet. And just little things like that of remembering, of, sharing these stories that come from a place of hurt, come from a place of, that's heartbreak, losing someone. And really being able to share that in a beautiful way. Because to anyone else, it's like, oh my goodness, she just blinged out her shoes. But it's more than just that. It's more than that. It's that I'm remembering my mom. That little charm is remembering my dad. So if you're an artist and you're making something because, you may be in a hurt place, you may be trying to get this feeling out of your heart, don't be afraid to share that. Don't be afraid to share those stories that are harder, the ones that have just a little bit of bite to them, a little bit of edge, because that's part of the human experience that bonds us all. That's part of what helps us really to have empathy and sympathy and humanity with each other. Thanks for listening.